The world is approaching a visionary blueprint for achieving gender equality and women and girls' rights everywhere, and stakeholders are raising awareness against the escalating gender-based violence levels that are still a huge monster in most parts of the world, with key focus in Africa. UN Women is the United Nations organization delivering programs, policies and standards that uphold women's rights, and they ensure that every woman and girl lives up to their full potential. It is at the forefront of this drive, and while having a discussion with the UN Women country representative in Uganda, Dr. Paulina Chiwangu, she revealed that there are four main areas of interest like economic empowerment and ending violence against women, among others.
Our Ending Violence Against Women program is focusing on a number of dimensions. We are working on access to justice, where we want to make sure that a victim of gender-based violence have provision to achieve justice. We are also working on norm change and other areas on ending violence against women. And the other area that we work on is women, peace and security and humanitarian action. Our Women, Peace and Security focuses on also a number of angles. We also touch areas of violence against women. We also touch on areas of leadership. And we also work on helping women who are facing humanitarian challenges, for instance, women refugees.
The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is an annual campaign that begins on 25th November, the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women, and runs through International Human Rights Day on 10th December. Led by civil society, the campaign is supported by the United Nations through the Secretary General's Unite by 2030 to End Violence Against Women initiative. This year, the UN marks the 16 days under the theme Unite, Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls.
The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is an annual international campaign which originated in 1991. And it was initiated by the Center for Women's Global Leadership. So this campaign runs from the 25th of November, which is the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women, to the 10th of December, which is a Human Rights Day. It's symbolizing that gender-based violence is a fundamental human rights violations. So if we look at the significance, you asked me to mention significance at a global level and at a national level. So if we look at the global level, I'll mention three things on the significance. Number one, raising awareness. Number two, uniting efforts, and number three, advocacy and accountability.
Due to the fact that Africa is one of the hotspots for gender-based violence, there are a number of shortcomings in the fight against GBV that stakeholders must look into. The state of gender-based violence in Uganda is still high, especially physical and sexual violence, according to the UDHS report 2016. Recent reports also highlight a rise in domestic violence.
If we look at the Uganda context, there are four things that I would like to mention. Number one, high GBV rates. Number two, cultural barriers. Number three, police and advocacy. And number four, community engagement. For high GBV rates, unfortunately, Uganda faces alarmingly very high levels of gender-based violence, with nearly 50% of women experiencing physical or sexual violence in their families. And then for cultural barriers, we know that patriarchal norms and practices, including child marriage and domestic violence, remain very significant in Uganda. And then with regard to police and advocacy, we know Uganda is among the countries in Africa which have very progressive laws and policies. While the legal framework, like the Domestic Violence Act of 2010, the campaign is critical in ensuring their enforcement and in shifting societal attitudes.
Despite these discouraging gender-based violence trends, there is more proof than ever that violence against women and girls is preventable. Evidence shows that the single most important driver of policy change is a strong and autonomous women's movement.